Well, today I'm excited to bring you a couple of little projects. I got these two Commodore 64s in the mail today, and as you can see, they've had better days. So we're going to take a look at the challenge that we're facing with these guys today, but I'm going to show you a very fast way of troubleshooting these things. I am done with my ZIF sockets and my oscilloscope and all that stuff. I have found something super cool by a just intelligent soul named Evie, who made an inline tester and an offline tester as well to test all the chips on the Commodore 64. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So what better way to do that than to start with one of these two systems here, and let's go at it. So what I have here obviously is a keyboard. It's the shift lock is messed up, gonna have to probably be replaced. The case is in decent condition, so that's good. I'm obviously going to have to need some screws, because this is the way I got it, just like you see it here. So we have, we'll deal with, well, this is already disconnected, so we'll deal with the keyboard. We'll deal with the keyboard later. For now, let's see what we got as far as the board is concerned. So let's go at this. So, oh yeah, there's no doubt someone's been in here. I can already tell. Let's clean some of this stuff up. Before I plug anything in, it's an NTSC 6567 BackBit chip. And got PLA, the SID chip. Interesting. Okay, can you see that? I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but these ROM chips here are in upside down, so that doesn't bode well already. So let's yeah, all right, first and foremost, let's just write those side up just so I don't forget. Make sure they're the right chips also. So this is a 901 227 that goes in the middle. All right, this is yeah, 226, so that's in the right spot. I'm already getting nervous. Okay, U17, so that's PLA. U18. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Before I even plug this thing in, you know, I used to plug these things in and put the dead test on it and look at the screen and kind of determine, you know, what the symptoms were by the screen. But before I do any of that, what I can do is I got this tester here from Evie at BackBit. I'll leave you the link. This is insane. This not only tests your chips, and mind you, so let me start over here real quick. Normally, if I needed to test any chips, and this is a plus with this board because all of these are socketed. That's huge. Otherwise, you know, they'd be soldered in. And let me tell you the power of Evie's BackBit tester here. I used to use this. Every single socket in here is ziffed, has a ZIF socket, with the exception of some of the things that are already socketed, but everything in here is socketed. The ones that, you know, are most common as far as failure is concerned, they have ZIFs on them. So I used to take bad chips, put them in here to test them, or not knowing whether a chip was good or bad, put them in here and test them. And, you know, that's how we make a determination. But, you know, this is old school. That's the old way to do it. You know, that's not needed anymore. The other thing is unsoldering to test, you know, and finding chips that are actually good, and you spend all the time, especially the 40-pin chips. Oh my God. Well, this little guy here also functions as an inline tester. You use, you know, one of these little suckers that grab the chip, and then you wire these things up into this socket here, and you can test the chips in line. So anyways, she's got a good thing going. I mean, Evie is one smart cookie, I can tell you. So anyways, so let's go ahead and start using this, and I'll show you how this works. So I'm going to plug this thing in here. Hopefully the screen can pick that up. So the first thing we're going to do, hey, let's just go ahead and test the VIC chip in here, shall we? Take this out. I'll show you how this works. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is choose the VIC in here. So we want to test the VIC 2 chip in here. And that checks chips 65, 66 through 65, 69. Okay, so that's what we want to check, since our chip here is just double checking. This is 65, 67. I don't know if you can see that or not. So we select that. Now it tells me we need to configure this in order for this to be able to test that specific chip. So place a minus jumper at position 20. Minus is the blue, positive is the red. There's 3 pins here in the middle. So we need to place a minus jumper at position 20. So pin 20 needs the blue pin shorted. Okay? Look, it's already telling you to start looking at the next pin place. So the next, you hit test, and now it says place the plus jumper. We need one at position 40 and one at position 13. Okay, so position 13, this one, I'm going to place one at position 40. Okay, and then hit test. It's ready to test. Okay, so I'm going to now put the VIC 2 chip in here. I'm going to lock it in place and hold down the test button, and it passed. And it also tells you the type of chip it is, NTSC. So that's a good chip. Okay. The one other chip I want to test real quick is the almighty SID chip, because that is always the one that's prone to failure regardless. So what we want to do now is take these pins out, and we want to test the SID 6581 or 6582, whatever. So that's the chip we want to test next. So we hit enter, place a negative on jumper 14. So there's jumper 14 on the left hand side, and then we want to plus on 37 and 40. Okay, so here's 37. Okay, here's 40. Okay, test button, and we're ready to test. Why do I just know this is not gonna be a happy test here? Okay, and then just hold the test button. Of course. So the SID chip failed. So we know that's bad. And then the last chip that I want to take, because I don't want to test all of these things, but I always test the main 3 chips: the VIC, PLA, and even though I don't need it, the SID, just so I know. And then I'll hit the others. But these are the main 3. The ROMs I can deal without. I can test that with. You can test that by putting in a cartridge. In there, something like Kickman. Because Kickman doesn't use the ROM, so Kickman will come up even if a ROM. If a ROM is bad, Kickman will still come up, so you'll know to deduct the other chips from the whole game here. So, anyways, I'm just rambling at this point. So let's just do the PLA. I'm going to tell you, these chips are popping out way too easy. So let's take these out. And now we're going to choose PLA. PLA is the 906. These are numerical order here, so PLA is 906. There you go, 906114. That's our PLA chip we want to test. So place a negative jumper on the blue 14 and place a positive one at red 40. Pop PLA chip in there. Hold this down. Failed. Why is not that not surprising? Though I already knew something was going to be up with the VIC or the PLA, because I was told when I was sent these that they don't work. And that's usually the typical suspects. So we know we need a PLA and a SID. I'm not going to worry about the SID for now. Let me get a PLA chip in here in my drawer. Okay, so let's put a PLA chip in here. We know the VIC-2 is good. All right, so let's turn this on and see what we got. These 2 chips here, being the ROMs being upside down, I don't know what damage that can cause, but we know that we had the SID and the PLA bad. So, okay, so let's see what we got. Always helps if I turn the power on, right? Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah. Okay. So we got all the memory. We got a blue screen with the right amount of white lettering. Let's go ahead and try. I don't need to do the dead test. We'll do the diag test cartridge. That's what I'm putting in right now in here. So I got the diag test cartridge in there. Okay, awesome. RAM is all working, and I should see U1, U2 is bad, and also U18 is bad because I don't have a harness hooked up to this. But I want to make this a quick video, so I'm not going to worry about that for now. It's looking good. So there we go. All right, so we know U1, U2, and U18 are going to be bad because there's no harness on here. And we know the cassette and the 3 ports are going to be bad as well. So, and there's no sound because obviously the SID chip was bad. So that's awesome. Well, that was an easy fix. It would have been pretty easy anyways because, like I said, all the chips here were socketed, and the RAM chips, that's the other thing. I just can't. I'm just a raving fan of this. I mean, if you look, at all of the chips this thing can test. I mean, I used to use the ZIF socket, and then I made this this memory checker for the RAM chips here. So I used to use, if I can get this out of the bag here, right? I used to use that. You know, it would tell me if a RAM chip was good or bad by. There you go. It used to tell me if a RAM chip was good or bad by the green or the red. You know, and so I had made this using an Arduino. Don't need it anymore. Not with Evie's bit tester here. And then for some of the LS chips, a lot of the LS chips, I used to use this, an EEPROM programmer, the TLA66-2. You can do tests on chips with this, you know. So these two things, along with my ZIF socketed C64, you know, and the Kickman cartridge, and that thing. Well, you know what? All of that goes away. All of that goes away with Evie's BackBit tester here. Not only that, like I said, these things are socketed, but if they weren't socketed, this also has the ability to test inline. And look at all the all the chips you can test. You know, the SRAM, DRAM, 4164s, you know, all the way through, you know, 4256s if you need. There's the ROMs. These are her own ROM chips and PLA chips that are programmable, no less. That's a different story. I'm going to put a link to her site, but you know, you can see other things in there. If I go to the options here, you know, you can set the options on this, the contrast and all that stuff. Anyways, you can test, there's the PLA. You can test both NTSC and PAL VICs in here. I believe this will also test the VIC-20 chips. You got the timers. You know, how many of you have had to sit there, you know, with the logic probe on the timers, doing tests, you know, with the logic probe. This is, you know, here are all the 74 chips. Again, I'm a raving fan, obviously. I just can't stop raving about this thing. But for someone like Evie to just, you know, to build this thing and allow us the opportunity to use a tool like this is just incredible. So I just, like I said, I just can't say enough. So anyways, back to the board here. So the one thing we didn't do is the keyboard, because obviously the keyboard is jacked. So let me see if I have a spare keyboard here. Okay. So here I have a spare keyboard. And we'll plug this puppy in here. And let's turn this thing back on and see if we can make sure that there's nothing going on, because I didn't test the ROMs. So okay. It's not like it's a quality test or anything, but obviously the keyboard works. So I am going to say that this guy is, it was an easy fix. So since it was such an easy fix, why don't we just go ahead and move on to the other board instead of making an entirely new video out of that one as well. Okay, let's unplug this keyboard. And then I have a lot of unscrewing to do here with all the... This is what happens with this plastic on these 64s. It just becomes so brittle, you know, over time, that just the littlest thing, I mean, can damage them. All right. So this guy obviously has been into as well, because this guy's undone there. So, but the shield hasn't been taken off. Again, everything here is socketed. That's awesome. I'm going to take this off here. And let's get rid of this. Okay, wow, we got a lot of rust going on here. Yeah. Let's see the serial number on this guy. So almost 2 million have already been popped out before this guy came along. So, all right, let's get rid of this. Make it easy on ourselves. Take all these screws out here. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, put that aside. Take a look at the damage. So it doesn't look like the rust has really done a job here on this shield. You know, you can see the bottoms, the rust has got to it. But I don't know if it's really gotten to the circuit board. There's mud. So let's clean that up with a little bit of alcohol. And as far as the shield is concerned, let me take the shield off. So let me go off camera and take the shield off. I'll unsolder some of it. I'm just tempted to just kind of take the grinding wheel and just grind these things off. So let me do that off camera, and let me come back when I get things a little bit cleaner. Okay, so don't hate me, but I used this to grind the little tabs off, because this board is a mess, and I think you'll see once I pop this out, because rust started just accumulating everywhere. All right, I'm going to take this out and let me clean this. You can see all the rust there. It's pretty bad. All right, so let's see what we got here. We're definitely going to have to clean up some of this mud and everything here. So I'm going to take that plate off. There's the screw here that's still left on here as well. Doesn't look like there's any rust anywhere along here, so that's a good sign. So it just looks like there's some mud along here, and it doesn't look like there's a heck of a lot of corrosion. I see a little bit of it, but not too much. Okay, so let's clean off a little bit of that mud. Oh, this got mud on it. It's amazing. First things first, let's get the tester. Let's test our SID. Keep your fingers crossed, but don't get your hopes up. Okay, for our SID, $6581 to $6581. I'm going to choose that. The minus jumper at 14. And then at 37 and 40 is the positive jumpers. There's 40, and there's 37. Okay, so let's test this puppy. Fingers crossed. Good luck. Oh, remove jumper at 39. What? $37. Yeah, that's what I had it on. And 40. There's no jumper at 39. Oh, I forgot to hit the button. That's why. Okay. There you go. Oh, we have a good SID. Well, that's always a plus. Okay, I'm going to put it aside because I don't like to test with the SID in place. So that's nice. Okay, let's check out the VIC. This is a 6567. Okay, that's the VIC 2. Minus at position 20. And then another one at 40 and 13. Okay, ready to test. Okay, this is the VIC 2 chip. Failed. Just run it one more time just in case. Passed. Yeah, that's why you always run it, because the pins should be cleaned, but they could be dirty, especially how you saw how dirty the board was. So let's try it one more time. Passed. Okay, so we seem to have a good VIC 2 chip. It's always a plus. Maybe this board was working. So we're going to do the PLA next, and then we'll go ahead and turn it on and test it. That was a little stubborn. Okay, so we're going to do PLA. 6114. The blue on 14. And then a jumper at 40. Okay. PLA is failed. Try one more time. Failed. Okay, so we got a potentially bad PLA there. Let me get a good PLA out of our drawer. Make sure we test this one. So that's a good PLA. So I think now we're in a position to give this an initial test before we start getting any deeper if there's any other problems. Okay. Black screen. So what I'm going to do, it's a black screen, but first things first, I'm putting in a Kickman game cartridge in right now. That'll rule out the ROMs. Okay, so that says something right there. So one of the ROMs is bad. Okay, no problem. So we'll take this Kickman cartridge out for the time being. And now let's test the ROM cartridges then. So the ROM chips here, basically, this is the basic ROM, then that's the kernel ROM, basic ROM, kernel ROM, and the character ROM. So let's just do the character ROM first. Let's test this guy. Let's get our chip tester here. And we don't want to do this anymore. Let's get out of here. So it's a 24 pin, but not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 24 pin. Okay, so that's what we want. That's how we're going to test the ROM. So we're going to put a negative jumper at position 12. And then we're going to put a jumper at position 40. And then put the ROM chip in the tester. Okay, hit test. Oops. There we go. Now hit test. Yeah, that's a character. That's fine. That's kernel. Failed. Okay, that kernel ROM. Failed. So that's the guy that looks bad. But let's just look at the basic ROM as well, just in case. Basic ROM is fine. Kernel ROM, just one more time, just for the heck of it. Oops. Failed. Okay. So we know we got to replace the kernel ROM. So let me get one of those chips here, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have a new kernel ROM here. Let's just test it just to make sure. Kernel. All right. We already knew one of the ROMs was bad again. Why? Because Kickman didn't work. And Kickman bypasses the ROMs. That's why I used that cartridge. But because it didn't work, then we know that one of the ROMs is suspect. Make sure I didn't bend any pins. Okay, so now we're ready to test this thing one more time. Here we go. There we go. Full memory, 38911, ready. Wonderful. So I'm going to just go ahead and put the diag cartridge in there. All right. So now let's run the diag test. And again, it's going to show U1, U2, and U18 is bad because I don't have a harness on here. There we go. That's the sound of wonderful music right there. Okay. So the only thing we're going to do now is one final thing is I'm going to plug the keyboard back in. That nasty keyboard is missing a key. I'm missing a number 8 key, so that's not quite going to work. Okay, I'm going to plug in the keyboard that we previously used right now into this thing. And all right, you don't see the keyboard, but you do see the screen. Take the cartridge out. Okay. Those are the function keys. So, not the most scientific method, again, but, you know, it works. So we're going to unplug this keyboard now. And there you go. Another working Commodore saved from the recycling. So might need just a little bit of cleaning, but you know, the board in itself is good. It's nice. And you saw how easy it was. Testing the ROMs, I used the Kickman cartridge. I used the diag cartridge for the alcohol. I didn't need to use a dead test, but this doubles as. I used a diag test, you know, to test, make sure everything was honky-dory afterwards. I have a harness somewhere, but for the most part, you know, I'm pretty confident it's fine. I'll always test it with a harness before I, you know, give it away or test it or do whatever with it. So, but I'm pretty confident that that's fine. We tested it with the keyboard, and again, a raving fan of this. You saw how easy that was. Didn't need a scope, didn't need, you know, my ZIF board, didn't need my memory checker, you know. This is just amazing. Evie, you are a genius. So I'll leave a link to this so you can see how valuable this is, you know, in testing things out. And again, we're lucky, everything here was socketed, but this has a function in here. Basically, you know, when you do your testing, it does have a function in here for test mode. You see how it's loose? You can also change it to in circuit. And then if you have offsetting, like if you have a jumper onto this chip where it's off one, because you know, you may not have a 24 pin clip, but you got a 40 pin clip and you don't want to change the wiring around. Okay, I can offset it. So if I use, for example, a 28 pin clip, you know, what you can do is with the on circuit mode here, the in circuit mode, I should say, you can change which one is pin 1, you know, to offset it, if you don't have a matching clip for your chip. So this is wonderful for in-circuit testing as well, especially since you don't want to go on soldering RAM chips all over the place, because a lot of times with the RAM chips you'll see a failure, but one RAM chip can cause multiple RAM chip failures, or one RAM chip down the line can cause false positives on other things. So, you know, one RAM chip can mess up your testing, you know, because sometimes it's just not that one RAM chip, you know, it messes up others, and it tells you 5 RAM chips are bad when it might be only one, and it's causing the others to read bad because of that one. So there's a whole slew of things. Anyways, the in-circuit tester is cool too. The only thing with it is sometimes there's false positives, only because first of all, you don't want to have it turned on while you're doing in-circuit testing. But the other is that some of you know, some of the bus interferes, you know, with some of the other chips. They have a relationship. So, you know, but she has another chip that she designed. Again, this it's just amazing. This, which is the PLA test chip, so that way it allows you to test inline with a little bit more accuracy. So, you know, so you put this in place of the PLA, and it makes some of the inline testing a lot more accurate with some of the other chips that have a reliance on the PLA chip. So anyways, there you go. I mean, you saw how fast it was. I'm sure you've seen other videos with, you know, the length of time that it takes to test and repair and all that stuff, and you saw it. Now, for all intents and purposes, I had an advantage. These chips were socketed already, but you saw how fast this goes when you have the right tools. So, hope you learned something. Hope you learned from my own mistakes, because I certainly I am prone to making them. But in the end, if you got something out of it, that's awesome. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, and I'm always good about answering them. So, in the meantime, like I always say, you only live once, so, you know, make the best of it. Enjoy.